A gentle note before we begin. This conversation explores the aftermath of a child's drowning. We share these stories because they matter, and I invite you to take care of yourself as you listen. Welcome to the Wise Women Podcast and our debut season, Wisdom's Discovery, Finding Your Center at the Edge. Because some moments in life call us to our edge and then beckon us to expand beyond it. In this season, we dive into the shared experiences of 20 remarkable women. And through honest conversation, we explore together the moments that shape us, stretch us, undo us, and ultimately return us to ourselves. I'm Katherine Jelinek, and this is the Wise Women Podcast. Hello, everyone. Join me in a warm welcome to Mary Reilly-Magee. Mary is an expert EOS implementer, life and leadership coach, and an Outgrow revenue growth advisor. And also yesterday published her, is it your first book, Mary?
Yes.
Published her first book. She is the author of See What Love Can Do. Bravo, Mary. Thank you for being here.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Katherine.
Yes.
Excited to be here. Yes, exciting times for sure.
Exciting times, and a story that we're grateful to get to hear and that you also share in your book. And so where does your story begin, Mary?
I think the best place to start is, I was an entrepreneurial kid, if you can be. I did business with I took advantage of opportunities to do business. The funniest one was selling pictures of Charlie's Angels to the boys in my fourth grade class.
That's cute.
That was super lucrative and fun. But eventually Mrs. Moran shut us down and I went on to build a learn to swim business. I became a 10th grade English teacher and high school swimming and water polo coach. And then I just realized that the entrepreneurial bug was still in me, and was encouraged by a mentor to look at developing my own learn to swim business. And so over years of working in aquatics and this encouragement, was able to, with the help of a lot of beautiful people, build 3 standalone indoor year-round locations, employing about 100 people. At its peak, we had a blast. We taught about 3,000 lessons a week in the high months of operation, and got to impact a lot of families. And so over the years, that was over about 20 years, and in 2018, we had a date night event, and date night was an offering that we made available to our customers and maybe friends of theirs to come and get time in the water to play, right? You can't learn to swim without actually swimming. And so this was a time for, playtime in the pool with lifeguards and coaches and, arts and crafts and pizza and movie and just a good night, and parents can bring their kids and go on a date. And so that night in 2018, the 2 people charged with the duty of keeping the kids safe inside the pool room that night failed in their duty and failed to follow protocols and training. That, coupled with a series of thinking errors, created this opportunity for a little boy to drown. And that's what happened. And so that's the edge. There's no greater edge for me to talk about. Earlier, we were speaking about a book I released yesterday. And this book is about my story and about being brought to my edge, and how through this journey, I made a discovery that has been discovered many times. I just worded it my way, which the discovery is called infinite generosity. And the book is really about how to practice this idea of infinite generosity.
How did infinite generosity become what grew from this experience? That is not what might immediately hop to mind. And I'm so warmed that the good can always come from something tragic. But I'm so curious too to hear for you, even And for the listeners, like this is like one of those mega moments in a life that hopefully most of us don't have to experience. And you have, like, what happened after, you know, and lead us to how infinite generosity became something you learned and found.
What happened after? So we just passed the 8th year anniversary in February. And so there's a lot of after here. And I spent the last year writing this book, and it has been incredibly healing and cathartic to get to write it. And there was so much, two beautiful things happen, or one really beautiful thing and one really awful thing that led me to this discovery. And so the beautiful thing is that when this happened, I was surrounded by people who loved me, who were in it with me. My communities that I had invested in, my peer advisory groups, which is my community, my network, all responded in this wave of love. And it wasn't just like for a moment, it was for a long time. For example, I have a community, my Learn to Swim business community. One of my friends developed a sign up sheet, and my swim school business colleagues, owners, signed up to send me, my family, my staff, my locations, some piece of encouragement every week for a year.
Wow.
People came, they would come and just to say hi, or like, I might be on the phone or in a meeting and they just like bring me their heart hands, to my window, or just stopping by. I mean, people they came, there were rescue missions, there were, it just so much. And so you juxtapose that with this other side, which was really unfortunate, which was really, really painful. And that's how the family and the foundation that came out of this awful preventable drowning death, the foundation that was created by the family, and then the public, right? Social media, all of the opinion and made up stories and lies and fabrications, like it just got stacked. And so that was really heavy. And I went on for a really long time, to the point of, public calls for criminal charges to
Wow.
be pressed against me. I was in Dallas speaking, to my colleagues at a conference about breath control,
Wow.
helping swimmers, and so
When this occurred.
yes, when the drowning happened, I was actually at dinner with friends in Dallas, and this was something we'd done for 12 years.
Yeah.
One of the people that was in charge had done 30 nights. She'd been employed with
Wow.
us for
Yeah.
4 years. And so one of the things I learned in that is that your people can, even the most experienced, and maybe especially the most experienced, can become complacent,
Mm.
but in again with this, incredibly loved and, incredibly hated. I don't know if everyone really understands what it's like to be held accountable for the death of somebody's child publicly and perpetually. And again, there's legislation being created, that's anti-swim school legislation. I signed up to tell my story to the Swim School Association membership, maybe 4 years after the event. And the foundation sent a letter objecting to my talk, and sent a letter to the president and to the executive director, and wanting the members to hear the letter. And this is kind of where I got infinite generosity. These many, many times of this is what, how I'm being depicted is not who I am. It's not, these are not true things. And how can I love you? Right? That's what we're called to do, is to turn the other cheek, to love anyway, right? To demonstrate the mercy and grace, provide that, give that freely, the things that you want. Like, I wanted mercy. I wanted grace. I wanted forgiveness for whatever was mine in this, and that was really a lot of the work is, what do I actually own here? Right? This idea, this separation or difference between responsibility and accountability. And I spent a lot of time really trying to figure out what's true.
What's
What
the
role did
difference
I,
between those? Yeah.
what is the difference between responsibility and accountability? Responsibility in this situation with this little boy's death, his name was Mitchell's death, his drowning death. I was not there that night. I was not there, therefore I was not responsible, meaning the people on the pool deck that were placed are in part responsible,
Yeah.
right? I created date night. I am responsible for creating date night. I also allowed 3-year-olds. Mitchell was just short of
Oh,
4, a few months short of 4. I allowed the 3-year-olds because somebody asked me, hey, what's good as date night if my 6-year-old can go, but my 3-year-old can't? And our pool was shallow, but it just went from 3 feet to 4 feet. And, there was a series of events that created the opportunity for this to happen, a series of breaks in protocol, basic lifeguarding 101, even basic watch the water, like, to me, that's where I go is this isn't brain surgery. It's watch the water, keep the kids safe. It's not that hard. It's not that deep.
mhm.
We're not talking about you need a medical degree to do that, right? So the difference between responsibility in this case is really shared, right? There were 2 people in the pool room. They didn't follow protocols. They didn't talk to each other. They didn't. And then there's accountability, meaning I'm accountable because I own the business, but I was not there that night.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm not responsible for the accident. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Just wanted to hear those words explained through your lens in this experience.
I mean, that's the discovery, right? And for me to get right with myself and to be free, inside the truth of my experience and what I did to protect,
Yeah.
that's the outcome. That this book is that outcome of really having those deep conversations with God and getting right with God and really knowing and understanding that God does not want me to select suffering, right, for
Right.
the sake of suffering. And for me to continue to carry responsibility that wasn't mine. It wasn't there, but I'm certainly absolutely.
Talk to me about, like, if I ask any questions that feel like we don't want to, feel free to tell me. But what about the forgiveness and self forgiveness? And then how about that with, I'm a mother to 2 young boys, 4 and 6. And also, I can
Imagine.
imagine the young children too who were there on the deck, who are the 2 that were responsible. And I can imagine how awful this is in their lives as well. Like,
Right.
how forgiveness, and how are you with yourself? Have you found the forgiveness for yourself? Have you found forgiveness for them, the kids who were working that night? How about the family? Like, I just kind of curious about how you've navigated all of that now that there's been time and space and you've had these conversations within and with the divine, and you're finding your place in this, unfathomable thing that you have to navigate.
I mean, no one went to work that day with the intention of hurting anyone. And these weren't kids, these weren't 15-year-olds. This was, 24-year-olds and 19-year-olds. They've been certified, been trained, lots of experience. And so there's responsibility and accountability for them, right? But I forgive them, right? Because again, I know intention. I know that intention was not to create the opportunity
Right.
for this to happen. And so in that, there's mercy and grace. They made a mistake, man. They made just a series of thinking errors that created this awful opportunity. And so I released them a long time ago. the harder ones to forgive are kind of what I call the rabble, the people that just were vicious liars. And at the same time, I've learned to accept like they're not of me. You know what I mean? That as soon as I kind of think of my connection to God, to universe, whatever's the way, right? My oneness here, connection is sort of like a ray of light. And as long as I stay in that channel, I am loved and I can love. And that is it, right? I mean, that's all any of us want, to be loved and to love. Like that's the yearning, that's the drive that supersedes everything. So, I mean, there have been times in the course of me being the villain that it has been crushing.
Can imagine.
And it's also crushing to understand that my identity, how I identified my worth and value in the world wasn't what I do. It's not the business or how I or like I've discovered that I'm very much wired that way, which is part of why it was absolutely devastating, off the edge, in moments. And I know that there's a reason God gave me this. God gave me this. And so the question has been, what do you want me to do with it? I had a moment of why, and the answer to that why was why not? And so why not me? What do you want me to do with it? And the answer to that question has been this book. I'm compelled to write it. I was compelled to create Learn to Swim businesses. Didn't feel like a choice, felt like a motor, a driver.
Mm-hmm.
I got to impact the world meaningfully there. And when that fell apart, crumbled, was broken, open, I learned that I am defined by God and God guides my work. And so who needs Mary and who does Mary need?
I just want to witness that. And the big question it opens for us and how much you've had to surrender to your lack of control in all of this and allow the greater force, God, the universe, to bring you to the places that you've been guided to go that are not of your making or desire. For just questions that are coming up in the mind of at least my mind, possibly the minds of our listeners, like what happened to the business? Does it exist? What occurred? Does the local area still have this energy and view of you, or how has that shifted at all? And what's life today? Like, where did you have to go from there?
That's just a couple, Catherine.
I know, right? Well, wherever you want to take it. Yeah.
Okay, I have to go. I should have written them down. So, in the
Just take one
beginning,
at a time. Let's see. What happened to the business?
so I sold the business, and the deal is that I was running on EOS. And prior to that, I had self-implemented another operating system. And so my ducks were in a row. And did I sell it at a discount? Yeah. I mean, it was injured. But I was lucky to have a couple of buyers, and I did pick one. And they bought my locations, and that company carries on teaching swimming lessons. I don't know. There's some activity, some mentality around creating suspicion around private learn to swim businesses. And that, if your business is for profit, you can't be anything but money hungry,
Yeah,
greedy.
sure.
You can't just actually love people and want to serve. So there's that kind of like, so anti-learn to swim business is happening, but I don't know how effective it is. And I hope to eventually be able to help combat that, maybe, because everything they promote we had. So, and then what was the last part? It was good.
How about your
What am I doing now?
viewed and the being the villain is something not a lot of us get to experience. I can't, I just want to say I can't even imagine and how bad that sucks. And then also like it's been 8 years, so where does this all leave you now? And do you still feel like how is it all unfolded from there, that side of things?
I mean, it's really hard to learn very different things. In terms of my own evolution, selling the business and being completely lost, really. And the prayer was, I just want to contribute meaningfully. Show me, what do you want me to do with this? And then who needs Mary, right? And who does Mary need? Like, bring these people into my life. And that over time, people trusted me, and the EOS implementer community embraced me. And again, it's this peer advisory, right? Where you just get connected with people who see you and appreciate you and beautifully didn't know my past. And so I arrived with validity, right? And because I didn't have, I felt like I was really wearing a scarlet letter. I carried it. I carried responsibility for a long time. And this process of this book and coming through, being successful in recreation, and this idea of this word, this prefix I'm really interested in, it feels a bit of a resurrection, it's certainly a release to release this story. I'm not hiding anymore. I'm not small. I'm not playing small. I'm just respectfully and hopefully honoring everyone involved the best I can. And answering the question, what do you want me to do with this? This is the answer right now. And my job is to listen. It's like hear and heed. Help me hear and heed you, right? Help me be obedient, because I'm not. I want to do what I want to do, and that hasn't always worked. So, I'm truly trying to live in my own humility and in my own love, and practice this idea of infinite generosity, which ultimately culminates in what is the generous thing to do. Right. It's very much of Viktor Frankl. It's kind of a nugget, right? And a seed from Viktor Frankl. Right. He says that everything can be taken from a man, but the last of his human freedoms, right? The power to choose your attitude. We're called to love. We're called to give grace. We're called to give mercy. I can only get what I give. Right. I mean, if I'm not capable, how can I receive? And that is also the other piece of this, of infinite generosity, that I have, and the course of learning, of growing through this really tragic, terrible, preventable accident, has been to recognize how much we select suffering in our lives, and to understand how much I hate it. I hate when people select suffering, and I do it all the time, And so how can I help that? What did I learn about that? Because certainly I could have selected suffering and stayed stuck and small and crushed, devastated. And how would that have honored anyone? How would that have honored my family, my husband, who, is my rock and sacrificed so much to build this business, the people who sacrificed so much and believed in what we were doing, in this Learn to Swim business. It made no sense. It was not honorable to not survive, to not come through it on the other side, and hopefully honor the event, with the learning. And so one of the discoveries is this generosity illusion, right? How we're all brought up. Generosity is one way. There's a giver and a receiver. There's a helped and a helper, right? It's almost like there's a good person and there's the bad person. Like, you can devolve it, right? And we all have our baggage or head trash around receiving. And one of the things, when somebody offers help to us, sometimes especially when we're wired to be givers, first word that comes up is, I can't, right? I can't allow you to do that. And that can't is a cutoff, right? It's a kind of isolation. And that's what I learned, is that's the generosity illusion, is that in order to to truly live in what's intended, which is this mutuality, right? This idea of I'm going to love you and I know I'm going to be loved. I just have to be open to being loved, receiving the love, right? And it not being definitive. It's not defining anything about you. You're simply in flow. You're in floating, is what I call. We're floating in this infinite generosity loop that is really powered by humility and love. And so we toggle in this humility and love, right? And that really these two things are intertwined, quite honestly. Um,
Mm.
that's where I'm trying to live, man. I'm trying to live in the love, okay? And be that model and practice that. And I am perfectly imperfect.
I love that you're calling out reciprocity, and so many of us can block the flow by not allowing the great generosity of others to be passed through. When before this big event, were you receiving? Did you allow receiving in your life, or do you feel like that was something that this almost had to happen in order for you to get to that place? Or what was your relationship to it
I
before?
think that, there's degrees and seasons, right?
Mhm.
Where you might be more open, and other seasons where you are feeling, I think, actually, the less confident you feel, the less help you ask for, right?
You're right, actually.
I, I mean,
You want to hole up in a small place.
yeah, and don't want to be a burden. Like we have our stack, right? We don't want to be a burden. They have so much to do already, and this is going to make me look weak or stupid or unprepared or whatever. And the truth is that when we allow someone to be us for us, it's to watch their body language, to see their face light up, right? They're getting the same high we get, and yet we want to withhold that for some reason. Hey, I learned this two ways. I learned this, my coach, his name is Mike Kotsis, and we were in a coaching session, and he was just handing me this beautiful gift, and telling me, I don't even know what he was telling me. And he was handing me like this acknowledgement. And as he's talking, I can feel like my brain like click off. And then it's just kind of like static noise. And I see his mouth moving. And then it stops. And I go, does that mean you're going to give me, a discount on our next set of sessions? And he's like, I'll never forget it. He was so calm. I mean, I don't even think I can do it but he was so calm, and he said, that's not what I said. That's not what I meant. And that's not why I said it. And I was like, okay, Mike, sorry. And then I left and I had to like stew on what did I just do? He just handed me a gift and I went like this, I just batted it out of his hand. And how often do we do that? And have we received something like that where we're trying to hand a gift and it gets rejected? I mean, I'm a mother to two kids in their 20s.
Yeah,
So my gifts get patted back quite
I
often.
bet.
Um, um, and he gave me an assignment out of that to really look for all the opportunities that I could be generous by receiving what
Yeah.
was being offered. And so I started looking. And then in that course of time, my daughter and I went to see Taylor Swift in Detroit. And I'm a massive Swiftie. So anybody who wants to talk about Taylor Swift and the business of Taylor Swift and Andrea Swift, like I'm your girl, because I'm going to do a deep dive on Andrea Swift because I think she's a genius. But I went to her concert, and at a certain point in her concert, right before she sings If I Were the Man, and she kisses her bicep, she takes this moment, and she circles the entire arena, and she receives the accolade, the yelling, the cheering, and she's going around, and you can see her just
Taking it.
taking it in.
Whoa.
And it, I mean, I got goosebumps right now.
You, me too.
And it was like, man, that's the practice. That's practicing infinite generosity. It's how can I love you what's the generous thing to choose here? And know that generosity is an illusion if it's only one way, right?
Yeah, that's beautiful. This is a really powerful story. I'd like to just say something to you too as a mother. I just want to let you know that I appreciate you and all that you've done, because I have two little boys who are the age of your date nights, and we put them in the hands of others in the world all the time, knowing that it's a great risk, that our heart's out there just living, and there's all sorts of things that can happen. But I have immense gratitude for the village, and you can't do it without the offerings and the extensions and the risks taken by others as well. So just want to appreciate that, because we need our community. And yeah, it's always a risk, but I have to step into it too. And from this, whoa, powerful, deeply changing experience, like here we are, what's the moral of your story? What wisdom fully gained here are you to share with others?
I really think the moral of the story is that we are here to love and be loved. Find ways to do that. Find ways to love and allow yourself to be loved, and you'll have peace and joy and contribute meaningfully. And you only get one of these, so look for ways to love and be loved.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? It's the only thing we can do at the end of the day. Mary, thank you. Thank you for trusting us with this story, sharing about it, your book. Congratulations. And wow, thank you for moving through this as you have and being an example of finding something beyond, what had occurred in this place of suffering that you could have stayed in, but you've found ground in other places of higher frequencies of generosity and love and compassion and care and forgiveness. So thank you for guiding that path through your life.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you for letting me talk about it and share what's possible and what I've learned. Appreciate you so much.
Right back to you. And thank you, listener, for tuning in. And we'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Wise Women podcast. You can find the book, Wisdom's Discovery, Finding Your Center at the Edge, on Amazon and barnesandnoble.com. And keep listening to the wisdom that your life is offering you.